Training ground. You asked for it, you get it. Ryu and I will rip your photos into smithereens. Hold on to your headphones. Here comes the pain.
And painful it will be once again. And welcome to Big Lens Fast Shutter, and welcome to Training Ground, where we make you feel like shit. But hopefully you learn to love it, and you learn to love us. And I think I need to do a little bit of a blurb no for this. Do I? I think I might have
Yeah.
to. Wait, but hold on. Okay, Matt, keep on talking. I need to find something. I need to find it.
Excellent. Already 2 minutes in.
Well, you have to keep on talking. We can't have dead air, you know?
Yeah, we can. This will drive home the point that you can't lose the script anymore.
Okay. First and foremost, thanks for watching the video, or thanks for starting to watch the video. And if you're a long-time Big Lens Fast Shutter person, or we like to call it BLFS, Minions of Doom, thank you again for watching us. If you want more of us, and if you just kind of came in here by accident, or if you've been invited to Training Ground via submitting photos onto a group pool on Flickr, this is part of a bigger thing called Big Lens Fast Shutter. You can find more of what we do on biglensfastshutter.com. I'm sure you know that this is something that has to do with sports photography. If you don't, then you should go and do something else, because it's not really for you then. And if you haven't forgotten, and I know you haven't, it is never too late to send a couple of bucks our way. Since this is a 100% user-funded podcast, please click on the PayPal donations link to show us how much you love us. So basically, the more money you give us, the more we love you. Yeah, well, that's how it works, you know? I'm not American, but, you know what I mean? That's how the world goes, right? Dirty adult world. All right. Okay, Matt Cohen, let's start out with Dolly.
All right, so...
hold on. It's by Gus Espinel, and it's
yeah.
Dolly.
Yeah, this is my friend Gus, and this was Gus's first rodeo, and I was actually here when he shot this. Right. So the positive, it's it's good timing, getting the little girl's face, looking up through the sheep's leg. Definitely getting screwed by the advertising board in the background, and then not low enough. So you should be at face level with the girl, and this would be 100% better picture. But other than that, yeah, crop closer to the sheep's face, because this weird long, 16:9 or whatever, it's not good. So crop closer to the sheep's face, get lower, and be wary of the advertising boards in the back.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep on going. Okay. This is by Michael Mosar, and this is a white dude playing ping pong, which is quite funny because white dudes never play ping pong. It's only Asian people who play ping pong. I'm not being racist, this is the truth. I mean, I did the ping pong world championships, only Asian people who play them. It's not true. So I want to be labeled as the racist over here, but it's a very boring picture. That's just how it is. I mean, this is the most boring, possibly boring angle and the most boring picture you could possibly taken. I'm assuming this is not a world championship or not an international, level play. It's a local, Y and Donik Delhi. Maybe it's in India. I don't know.
India.
I got it from the whole Donik Delhi thing, but maybe it's
that's just where the table's made.
Okay, made in India. Anyway, if you have this kind of access, we keep on telling you, if you're not in a place where you don't have any access, so if you are in a place where you don't have any access, I understand if you have to shoot from far. But if you are at a place where you do have the access, then get closer. That's the whole point of sports photography. In essence, is to get as close as possible to the subject. It makes things a lot more interesting. And this is just like it's bordering. I can probably even call it a snapshot. It's bad. And I got a lot of spit in my mouth as well. So I don't know. Just Michael, like, you can do better than this. And I've seen your other pictures, and this is really a poor photo by by any means. So no, just no, can't do this. Ferlin Sovereign Ferlinsov, member since 2010, and this is a dude playing baseball. Matt Cohen.
It's probably a chick playing softball.
Or a chick playing softball. Matt Cohen. That's true, because I can see the chick in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty and everything. It's just, I don't know.
It's a shame.
Yeah, the sky is really nice in the background, and so it was a good idea to try and use it. But I don't know. I would have tried to do a silhouette here because there's nothing interesting about the subject. So basically the subject becomes the sky, and if you're trying to accentuate the sky, then you want it to be a silhouette. And I don't know if it was possible because of the lights or whatever, but it's a kind of an off angle. He couldn't be directly behind, I guess, because of the catcher and the umpire, but the angle isn't good. It's it's good that he was low, but that's not enough. No. So really what you're left with is a pretty sky and a very, very boring subject at a bad angle. So I don't know. What I would do, since this has nothing to do with game action, has nothing really to do with anything action related, so be near the on deck circle and take your time, because who's ever on deck is going to be sitting there warming up for at least a couple minutes, and you'll have a chance to be, first of all, a lot closer, second of all, probably pick your angle a lot better, and make something out of the pretty sky, like a silhouette or like an interesting composition.
It's a shame, because it's such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sky, and you ruined it by having a really crappy composition and everything else. I mean, could you not have done it just waist up, for instance, or just the hand or the bat? I mean, the crop at the top as well, like it's very unbalanced. And like Matt said, it's not interesting enough to stand on its own. Then try something else, try another subject and use a background. Yeah, silhouette aside, yeah, there's so many different things you can do. Concentrate on how to make the most important subject in this photograph work, which is the sky, and incorporate sports into it, not the other way around. So, yeah. Everyone's really crappy these days. What's going on? Not these days. Oh, Jesus. I'll let you do this one again. Ferlinsov baseball.
Yeah. So there's first of all, there's too much going on. The elements of the picture are too far apart, and it's not. The timing of it is important. So, you have the umpire calling the strikeout, but he's blocked by the catcher, who's not doing anything interesting at all. Like, the catcher is just getting up to throw the ball back to the pitcher. If the umpire is ringing up the strikeout and the catcher is pumping his fist because the game's over or something like that, then you're on the right track. But you still have the lady in the background who was taking pictures through the screen, and you have the guy who's sitting there, and then you have the batter, and the stuff is just, you have to think, what is somebody who only is going to see this picture for 10 seconds going to think? Like, that's not the only thing that you guys need to think about, but that is something you need to think about. So if you're scrolling through a whole bunch of pictures, you're an editor or something like that, and you see this picture, it's just going to look like a mess. You would need 30 seconds to sit there and say, oh, okay, so there's two people in the background, and I'm not supposed to be focused on them, but they're still in focus because the aperture was too high. And then you have the one guy on the one side throwing his bat down, and you have the umpire being blocked by the cat. So you're asking somebody to do a whole lot of work to figure out that this isn't a good picture. So it doesn't pass the 10-second test, and then it doesn't pass the 30-second test. So what to do differently? No, well, right, but what to do differently? So shooting like this with those people in the background, like, that's something that you need to figure out before you sit there and make a whole lot of pictures. That unless you can figure out how to have your subject in between you and what's in the background, or figure out how to blur it out with a lower aperture, you need to move because those people aren't helping. Like even that lady making an expression, she's too far away and she's breaking up the frame as it is. So you need to think about what's the best case scenario for this picture. Even if everything went right, even if the guy threw his bat down in a more dramatic way than this, even if the catcher was celebrating, and even if he wasn't blocking the umpire ringing up the strike, you still have the lady in the background screwing your picture. So set yourself up for success instead of, even if everything goes exactly right, you're still going to fail. And that comes from choosing a lower aperture or moving so that those people aren't in your background.
Just quickly, like I think you're trying to fit too many things in one frame, and it didn't work at all. Sometimes less is better. Remember that next time when you shoot something like this, concentrate on one thing and one thing only, and make it work. And try not to just like, because it's a mess. This whole thing is just messy. Everything's just so messy. Oh Jesus. Oh, okay. You know what? I can live with that. Okay. Let's see. It is by Cozy Designs, and it is titled Hold On. And for some reason it's in really low res, or it's not in focus. Maybe it's both? I don't know what's going on here. It's not in focus, I think. It's not in focus on the guy. It's focused on the guy with number 24. That's in focus, and the guy is slightly towards us in the foreground. So that's why it's not in focus. So that's one thing first. It's not in focus. The rest is fine. I don't really mind this photo, but I like to be a bit more clear. Like probably another split second later, the guy's right hand will be much closer to the guy that's number 24. Well, I think who's probably the running back, right?
Yeah.
Because like Matt said, the whole, like a 5-second, 10-second test was just like looking at this photo. I have to really think about it as to what's going on. It's a mess in a way. There's no what.
Another part of it is that the guy. So this is a picture of the guy in red in the middle, because everybody else has their back to you, so it can't be a picture of them. So you need to get the metering right on the guy that's the picture. And what's throwing it off are the white jerseys, and there's always going to be a light team and a dark team, so you need to figure out how to meter for skin tone. This guy, the guy in red, I can't even really see his number, but his face is too dark. So when you first see this picture, when you reacted negatively when you first saw it, it's because the picture doesn't read at all. Because the brightest thing in the frame has his back to you, and the thing that's the most action that's going on, and the guy who's trying the hardest, his face is completely in the shadow, and you haven't taken that into account. So the picture doesn't read. Like, you need to get way too deep into this picture before you realize, oh yeah, that's a guy who's going pretty hard for a tackle and is turned towards you, and you did everything right except you didn't meter it right. So either when you're shooting it or in post-processing, you need to figure out what's the picture and then adjust for that.
Yeah. And other things. It's just no, because it's really a shame that the action itself is very, very good. I think it's composed very well as well.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't pop. But also at the same time, like if you do meter with, you're gonna meter with his face, with the guys, the guy in the mask, the whatever W team is gonna be. It's also gonna be a problem that is gonna be the other teams, everything else actually might be quite overexposed as well. Yeah, but we have to see like how. But I'm just like, I think like you have to see how that goes, and it's one of those sports that there's a lot of weird shadows everywhere,
Well, but look at this picture, and look at the left-hand side. Look at the area of the white jersey right near the 2. That's already maxed out. So what's the difference? If you add another stop of light, it's still maxed out.
I don't know. Like, it's not a matter of actually like maxing that part out more. It's gonna be really, really, really white. I'm not really worried about that. It's whether or not if that's the only thing that's going to really help out this particular picture, because it might not be salvageable. It might be just too much going on. That will, I guess we can actually have it, post process and see how it looks, but it's difficult with something like this. That you seem like it's only just like one step towards some kind of like a passable photo, but at the same time, like maybe it won't be. But I guess we'll see. What it is,
Yeah,
because
I don't
it's,
know.
if you,
You need to be able to see their faces, and there is a middle ground. Like you split the difference so that you can
mm,
it's passable on the face, but this isn't. Like
it is
his
too
face
dark.
is too dark given all the rest of it. If let's put it this way, if the other team was wearing like a powder blue or something like that,
Mm,
where it was a little bit darker than it was, then his face might come out of it a little bit more. But the problem is that the lightest area of the picture is so close to his face being in the shadow.
true.
That's what the problem is. So you need to take all that kind of stuff into account when you're shooting and when you're figuring out if you have the right exposure or not. If the difference between the two is so great, you still have to go for the face. Like
Mm,
that's it. And if you're unlucky enough to have to be shooting at noon or 2 o'clock or something like that, and you have a team in dark and a team in light, you need to go for the face first, because this picture is nothing if it's not. If this guy's head was turned a little bit, it wouldn't matter how you metered it because it wouldn't be a
mm,
picture. This is along the lines to being a picture, but you're sabotaging yourself because the guy's face is too dark, and you're unlucky enough that the lightest part of the picture is right by his face in the shadows. So
yeah.
you need to work all that stuff out.
All right. The Chase by, oh, it's Michael Cohn. Michael Cohn, The Chase. Um, you're on the ground. You're shooting. The kid on the left has got the latest Adidas on. It's nice. But that's where it stops, because it's not interesting. What they're doing is not interesting. Like there's nothing interesting about what they're doing. This is not a, let's take your kid's picture and show it to the rest of the world. Like I can do it on Facebook. Well, there are
Right.
plenty of people who do that on Facebook.
Yeah.
This is about taking good sports picture, and this is not a good sports picture because there's nothing going on. We will have plenty. Well, we already have plenty. We'll have plenty in the future that people have shot things or moments in sports that are so mundane and so there's nothing extraordinary that it's no matter how you cut it, it's a boring picture. And same thing here. Yeah, you can. There's two kids dribbling the ball, or one kid's dribbling and one kid's trying to get the ball. Could you not have actually gotten a shot where the kid's tackling or shooting or passing or anything other than just like dribbling the ball? I'm sure you could. And just this whole entire format of actually having, the legs and the ball and everything and the head there, just can't. And also your f-stop is way too low. The numbers are too high. So you can see the kid in the back as well.
Yeah, this is one of those pictures that if you're like an event photographer or whatever, and
Yeah.
you get hired to go shoot a game or something that's filler to get you to the minimum number of shots that you promised. It's Mike has good pictures. Like we've seen his softball pictures,
Mm.
and he's got some great moments and sliding into home, and some good detail shots. Go back and look at those and forget about whose kids or grandkids there are in the picture and tell us, Mike, is this comparable to those pictures that you have of softball?
No, it's
And
shit. I
it's
mean,
not. These
no.
aren't. This isn't a good moment. There's nothing that that anybody who's not the parent or grandparent of these kids are going to care about. And we're not here to help you get pictures that are, again, yeah, you've frozen the action and it's in focus and whatever, but that's not what we're here for. And you're better than this because we've seen the pictures that are better than this from you.
Mm.
So look for better moments and figure out more interesting compositions, and certainly blur out the background more than that, because that other kid in the middle is not helping things,
Yeah.
nor is the fence.
It's a cute kid. That's it. All right. Fordham, DB, Ian Williams by Cinnamon Photography. Or Cinnamon, maybe. I don't know. But, okay. He's panned it. But,
Yeah,
it's too high
it's
up for me. You know what I mean?
yeah.
He's I don't know where he's sitting quite high. Like,
Yeah,
he's
well,
not even standing.
it looks like from the stands,
Yeah, it
and
does.
it's
Hmm.
I don't know, you can always tell a picture that's taken from the stands or stands level, and I'm not saying that you should never do that because that's there are definitely times like when I shoot tennis, I'll go up into the stands all the time and shoot down, and but that's from like the most extreme angle that I can find, hanging off the edge or something. This is just like, oh yeah, I'm 10 rows up in the stands or something. No, it's it's always going to look like a picture that came from the stands. It's always going to look like the picture that your friends who just happened to go to a college football game and took their DSLR with them and put up on Facebook. Oh, look, I was at the game. It doesn't mean that they think that they're a great photographer. It's that they want to show you that they were at a game.
But I think
So
it's just a matter of like people getting into this really weird comfort zone. Um, like Matt said, like yeah, I mean like we rarely get into the stands to shoot from this angle. It's either you go all the way up or you stay all the way down. It's really like a half-assed, way to do things. And like yeah, Matt said that it's just a Facebook picture, just telling your friends you've been there, and that's it. Um, and we don't really want you to take average pictures. This is not like a place where we encourage you to say, okay, here's the deal. These are the things that needs to be there. Okay, you got from head to toe. That's great. You got the ball. That's great. Fantastic. You can see the entire thing. Now we can sell these to the parents. We're not asking you to do that. We're asking you to step out of that and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to try something new. And the only thing that's probably something new about this is the fact he's panning. And that's it. There's nothing more and nothing less. Is that a good thing? Sure, he's trying something new. But the thing is, like, if you're gonna, be shooting something like this, and go and like shoot, like I don't know, whatever, like lower level football. Like, don't shoot college football. You can't get the access. There's just no point actually shooting something from this angle and calling it your work in a way. Like
yeah,
it's just yeah.
yeah, it's you don't get a free pass when you pan. Like panning doesn't cover up for other
No.
sins. And so you have the bad angle, you have the guys in the background who are just standing there and they're not blurred out enough because when you have somebody who's just running, you can't use a low enough shutter speed to get them to be crisp and get everything else. Like it's the faster you're shooting, the more the things in the background are going to be the faster the sport that you're shooting, the more the things in the background can be out of focus. But you can only drop the shutter so low to get panning on somebody who's just running, especially in football. So you're not blurring out the background enough. You have that sign in the background, and you're at too high of an angle. So there's way too many things that are working against you. If you had been right on the sideline, super low, had dropped the shutter a little bit more, and that stuff in the background was out of focus just because it was further away than you were to the subject, then you would have, you'd be further along the road. But this doesn't work because the panning doesn't cover up for the bad things that are going on in the
And
rest
if
of
you're gonna do like from this now, if you're gonna do it from the stands, like why don't you do like a panning for a second, or whatever, 2 seconds, whatever. Like think of something a bit more like crazy than just like do this half-ass panning.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh. Okay, it is by Alfie Picks, and this is Leonelli Schools U15 Swansea Shoe something U15s, under 15s. Same thing. It's one of those pictures that if you're shooting for this kid's parents, and it's fine. Like he's holding the ball and a little bit rain falling and whatnot. But like, what does that do? And this crazy watermark in the middle of the thing, are you crazy? Come on. Is anyone gonna take this picture? Like I'm 100% sure maybe the girl who likes him will take the picture. I mean, that's it. Just don't yeah, I understand this is training ground. I would rather be criticizing pictures that you've tried something interesting or you try something different and you fucked it up. That's fine, you know. But like this, oh, God forbid, Mr. Alfie Picks, just can't.
Yeah, I mean, really, if there wasn't anything more going on in this rugby game, then
it's the most boring rugby game ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Here you go. A bit better. 645 Union by J1C3. Matt Cohen.
Yeah, this is a good use of the light. The kind of light that's coming in directly from the side, so that their faces are equally in the sun and in the shade. That can be kind of a cool look. I wouldn't want to look at a whole game's worth of pictures like that, but it definitely works in batches. I mean, this is not a bad picture.
No.
Right off the bat, it's not horizontal, and that's really irritating. So, especially when you have a reference point like the goalpost in the background.
Yeah.
So that right off the bat, when you're going through these pictures and you're doing your crops and your initial toning and whatever, fix that, because if that pole wasn't there, you might have been able to get away with this, but because it's there, there's no way you're getting away with it. So you're handicapping yourself before anybody even sees the picture, which is not good. Other than that, it's good. Okay. I mean, you have all these guys and they're different depths away from the guy who's throwing the ball. They're all looking in the same spot. So this is an example of when all the things are working for you instead of against you. Like, nobody's sitting there looking at their watch or looking bored or whatever. Like, all of these guys are really invested in what's going on, and they're all looking towards exactly the same spot. The guy is he throwing the ball? Yeah, he's throwing the ball.
Yeah. It's from a scrum. So
yeah, I mean,
he's throwing it out.
Yeah, this is an example of where everything in the picture is working towards the picture instead of screwing you. Like, there's no advertising board, there's no random people taking pictures in the background or whatever. So, this is good. I mean, it would be definitely better if it was, if you were closer to it or whatever. But rugby's tough because the field's so big. So you probably did the best you could there. But yeah, I mean, straighten your pictures. There's no excuse in the digital age for off-axis pictures like that. It's not.
Unless you shot like this, and if you try to straighten that one, you might not be able to, because you chop everything off as well. And in that case,
then you need to compose better. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh.
Okay,
Carolina FC versus
there's going to be a new rule.
United by.
I don't ever want to see this again. I don't give a fuck about your selective black and white and color and whatever Photoshop skills. I don't care. I don't want to see it. I'm going to take these out of the pool because, first of all, it's just bullshit. Like, what's the purpose of it? The ref is in the background, there's a field, whatever. There's nothing going on in the background that needs to be black and whited out of this picture. Second of all, why would you spend any time whatsoever working on this picture when you've cut the feet off of the player, you can't see the ball, and there's no good reason why? Why would you spend any time? This is a throwaway picture. So you have, an inch worth of room above her head that would have fit very nicely by her feet so that her feet didn't get cut off. So it's a bad decision to work on this picture. It was a bad composition to leave that room on top and not have her feet in there. There's no ball, and you've selectively black and whited out most of the picture. This is just absolutely awful, and I don't ever want to see this again.
So, laundry list of things you shouldn't do. So, selective coloring, very deep depths of field, standing and shooting, cutting off feet when it's absolutely unnecessary, and to top it all off, it's not an interesting moment. The girl's just dribbling or just running, and that's it. Bad. I think this will probably take the top place, and is automatically the worst picture of this entire lot this month. And it'd be bad. Close. University of Arizona versus Texas Tech Women's Soccer by Joshua Pearson. Hello, Joshua. So let's see. At least in this picture, they're doing something a little bit interesting, which is two people fighting for the ball. A little bit, though. But the problem is that there's another girl over here to the left who's, making this whole thing not work because she's covering stuff up and it doesn't cover very, very well. It doesn't really add to the whole thing. And the fact that is that it's not very interesting. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to see that there are a lot of interesting things that happen in sports, even in soccer. For God, I mean, it crazy that people think that like if someone who's never seen soccer before would see this picture and say, "Wow, what a boring game! Just people kicking balls." That's what I would think. There's a lot more that happens during a football, soccer match, and this is the best you can do. Which to me is just you're not concentrating, or you're not concentrating. You're probably not concentrating. You're not getting the good pictures. And why? Because you're not getting them. Because you're probably not ready to take them. So if this is the best one you could get from this match, as is with a lot of pictures we talk about, if this is the best picture you can actually get from a particular sports and a particular game, my God, go and do it again. It's just really, really just bad stuff. Well, at least it's not effectively colored, no?
Yeah, here's the thing. I get the urge that, so you're shooting, like a Division 1, I'm guessing, what teams? Yeah, Division 1
Arizona
soccer game.
Texas Tech.
Yeah. So I get it. You're not shooting a high school game or a club team or your kids or something like that. So it's a big deal, and you don't get to shoot this kind of stuff all the time. Like I remember back before I could get credentials regularly, and everything that I shot was like, oh my God, I need to get the best pictures ever for my portfolio, and I really need to take advantage of this. And what that does is that it leads you to focus way too much on the action on the field because you don't want to miss anything. Well, let me tell you something. You're missing lots of things if you're only focusing on the action on the field. You're missing the non-action stuff that goes on the field. You're missing the coaches. You're missing the bench. You're missing the being tired, wiping sweat off their forehead, portraits, all that kind of stuff. If all you're doing is watching the ball and watching people fight over the ball, you're missing all kinds of things. And your portfolio is going to suffer because you're not going to have the kind of variety that you need to show editors. So, you should have enough action pictures by the end of the game that you should just be able to shoot whatever you want. And you should also have enough action pictures by the end of the game to look at this and say, yeah, not that interesting. Need to move on, try something else. And
sucks.
Taking advantage means more than just getting a bunch of action pictures. Oh yeah, I got 100 pictures that I can use from this game. Well, guess what? There weren't 100 pictures in that game. And the ones you have are probably just duplicates of the fewer than 100 pictures that there were. So, look for better moments, look for things that don't look like the same thing that, you have another 100 copies of.
Now, Women's Football Boil by J.D. Finer. Now, see, this is exactly what it is. So, is this the most exciting picture ever? No. But is this by far the most interesting picture that we had in the past, 30 minutes that we've been talking about this? Probably yes. Just because of the fact that, it's just throw-in picture, like throw-in terms of like they're throwing the ball, not like a throw-in, whatever. And, it's just more interestingly composed. Very, very, I think he might actually be very, very down. Huh? He might be like on the ground, almost close on the ground. And
sitting.
Yeah, the sky's going on, and weird lines because it's a football field and using it for soccer, and it's always a very disgusting looking field. I hated that. But it's the person thought about this. It wasn't just like I'm just gonna shoot it right now, boom, that's it. Thought went into it for a split second. I'm gonna shoot it this way, wide angle, and the subject in the middle going for the ball, and it works. I think the yellow line works very, very well because it kind of accentuates the whole thing. And could it have been better? Yeah, I think it could have been better. It could have been a bit more, the angle could have been a bit higher, and it could have been, I don't know, it would. The only thing that really bothers me is the track on the right. So it could have
Yeah,
angled
so
it a bit
yeah,
better, huh, with that.
yeah, it should have been either composed differently to get more of the field on the
Mm.
left and less of the track on the right, or cropped. I'll echo that. This is what we're talking about when we're saying shoot something different. We don't see a whole lot of throw-in pictures. We see people fighting over a ball, picture after picture after picture. So yeah, shoot the throw-in, shoot the goalie throwing the ball, shoot wide like that. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's it, but I the other than the crop and the composition, which are the same thing, I would definitely encourage you to figure that out so that it's um, that guy. Honestly, if that guy wasn't on the track, it would be a lot better. The guy is what's killing it, not necessarily the track, because the lines help. The lines on the track with the lines on the field, that helps.
Yeah,
But the
but I think,
guy, the
yeah, the
guy
guy,
walking there kills it.
it does, but like I think really like what the main thing for this entire picture to me is the girl throwing the ball on the line, the yellow line.
Yeah.
So if you see that, then like make sure that is gonna be in the picture and that's gonna be the main subject, and not let other things distract you, like the track on the right. But yeah,
So
good.
one more thing about this is that, please go back. So this, as far as like the mechanics of a throw-in, this is not the ideal one. So you would either want the run-up, her flexing back as far as she could, or following through or seeing the ball coming off the tips of her fingers or something like that. Like all of those moments during the throw-in are going to be more interesting than with the ball behind her head like that. So I don't know if you were, just motor driving it through and got what you could get, but this is the kind of thing where, like we've talked about a million times with baseball pitchers or softball pitchers or tennis or something like that, 9 frames a second, 11 frames a second, whatever, is not going to be enough to get the exact moment that you want. So slow down and think about, okay, I've done all the work to compose this picture. I've sat down. I'm in the right place. I want the best possible mechanics of this throw-in, and I want to show exactly what this is all about. So look for that moment. Look for some separation between the ball and her head, or look for, leaning back as far as she can, or following through on the throw-in, or something like that. That is what would put this picture over the top.
MMRC1 Duke 3 by Molders Jan. So it's Jan Molders. Yeah, it's okay. It's a guy with the ball running, and that's it. So if you can do this, Jan Molders, I would like to see you do something a bit more interesting. Because it's one of those things that happens a lot during rugby match. The guy runs with the ball. So yeah, next time do something a bit more. And that's
And
it.
watch the f-stop, because that stuff in the background is...
Yeah, it's a bit too clear.
Yeah.
Viner Borough Football, Bloomsburg by J.D. Viner. We had J.D. Viner before. What kind of photo was it? That was the one with the guy with didn't have enough light, no, on his face.
Well, yeah, they're right back to where we were before.
Yeah. And on top of that, we don't need this guy right here. He doesn't really add at all to what the whole thing is all about. Same thing. I like the composition. I wish you would not have this guy on. So just it's a shame. But the thing is that the fact you actually had the guy in the middle as the center of the subject, I don't think you've made it purposely to compose this way. So I'm gonna give you a fail for that one. It's not a very interesting moment per se. Move on.
Yeah, I also think that there was probably... Go back one. There was probably a more interesting moment later when he was falling closer to the ground. So you got him like at a 45-degree angle. He might have, because the guy's tackling him, he's going down. There's no question about it. It's, what's the best angle for him going down for the picture? And this looks like it was a little bit too early.
All right, wheelchair cycling marathon thing. Same thing. Like, what's interesting about this? Like, tell me one thing that's interesting about this. And please don't tell me because it's wheelchair cycling or whatever. It's not interesting enough. We're doing sports. We're not doing like, oh, look, he's trying very, very hard. Like, I could give two shits. We're here not about the, I don't know, like, we're trying to like make the picture interesting, or at least like I want you to think you're trying to shoot something that's interesting. There's nothing interesting about this. The guy is what, struggling to become a wheelchair athlete. Like, we don't get anything like from this. I don't get anything like that if you're trying to do it that way. Don't take it easy, or don't take like a step back just because you think the subject is interesting. I have no idea who this dude is. I've got no idea what he has done in the past or what he's doing right now. I've got no history of him. And this picture does nothing to tell you about that. So overall, terrible, terrible, terrible picture. It just is. And you can do a better job with something interesting as wheelchair cycling. Cycling? Probably it's actually running. I think it's a marathon thing. So I've seen this at the Berlin Marathon. But yeah, I mean, just do something interesting about it. It's a shame you can't do something better with subject that's interesting, you know? Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, have some strain, or some him actually wheeling around. It's just that seems like the worst moment to have taken that picture.
Wellington swatting by NZ Lens, Matt Cohen.
Yeah, I mean, it's either too tight or too loose, depending. Would I don't know. I mean, it could be if you just focused on the woman with the ball and the woman trying to rip it out or whatever, it would be better than it is. If it was wide and you got more of the trees or whatever as the background, it would be better. But again, it's rugby, and this stuff happens. Like, the more rare something is, or the better off you're going to be. And this, people insisting on taking pictures of things that happen every time, and there's no differentiating between one moment or the next, or give your gear to anybody who's at the game, and what are they going to shoot, and will they be able to do the same thing? And what would be the difference? Like, all you're doing is following the ball and clicking the shutter every couple seconds. There's not going to be anything different than what you do versus what anybody else there is going to be able to do. So there's just too many pictures like that, and we're asking you, once you've been able to meter properly and freeze the action and get everything relatively in focus, what's next? And did she hold on to the ball and the other girl get a bloody nose for her efforts or something like that? Like, there has to be other stuff that's going on besides this, because this just isn't interesting enough.
It's shit. Oh dear. This shit gets better and better every day.
Yeah, I'm real.
I'm by 416. Sebastian Lowe.
Really tired of pictures like this.
Why is it like it's motor racing just gets the worst pictures ever? And it brings out the worst in people.
Yeah.
Like, wow, let's just pan this.
It's the thing that the access is the most restricted. I think that's really what it is, and it's not good for creativity when you're only allowed to shoot from certain spots, and it just means you have to work harder. And just standing in one place and, I'm going to pan on this one. Well, you know what? You're panning. I don't care about your panning. It's not slow enough anyway. And there's too much going on in the background. There's a van driving around, and the tents and the start-finish line and the barriers and the sign on the barrier. Like, the whole point of panning is to get rid of all that stuff. And you're doing it, the shutter is still fast enough that you can make out every single one of those things in the background. That's an automatic failure. This picture wouldn't be great if you were shooting at a 1 second exposure, but it'd be a hell of a lot better than this.
It's shit again.
And I don't care about your keeper rate. I don't go any slower because my keeper rate goes down. I don't care. This is for getting better and you're not going to get better unless you challenge yourself, and you're not going to challenge yourself unless you're risking having bad pictures to make good pictures, and you're not doing any of that with that car.
And Matt's gonna get a heart attack and die like in the next 5 seconds. It'll be all your fault. Brendan Bank. I'm surprised he did such poor job on this. I really, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's very strange that he even actually thought this was anything other than like, oh, I'm just gonna throw this in the bin.
Right.
There's some dude in the background that should not be there, and it doesn't really add well, he really definitely subtracts from the entire photo. B, the dude in the foreground, the guy's in focus. He's not doing anything interesting. And the only interesting thing I thought in this entire photo is the ocean, because I like the bit like rough ocean type of thing. That's it. So it sucks, and we're gonna move on.
It's really, I think that we haven't really talked about this, and I guess it's because it's difficult to demonstrate, but I'm gonna say it because people aren't getting it. You want to show people perspectives that they don't get to see. You want to show them extremes, not. If this picture, and we've seen it in the other ones, and we were just talking about this before one of the You Win pictures from the last time, you want to accentuate what's going on. And if there had been 15 guys in the background, oh yeah, it's really busy and all these people are trying to kite surf or whatever, that would be one thing. But just having one guy or two guys or whatever, it's not enough. You want to show a pattern, or you want to show, oh, it's really crowded there, or you want to use that to border the composition of your picture. But having just the one guy is just distracting. You're like, oh, why is there the other guy there? Why didn't you crop him out or whatever? If there were 15 guys in the background, it would show that you were, oh yeah, this is a moment when there were so many people in such a tight space that it looked like a pattern or something like that. So, but one extra person there isn't a pattern. Like, you need 10 or 15 of them to show something like that. If you're trying to show an impact or whatever, you want to crop in really close and show that impact. If you shoot really wide, it's just, you know, oh, what's all this grass doing here? You want to accentuate what you're looking at, and part of that is telling the person who's looking at the picture, this is what I want you to look at. And all you're doing here is saying, oh yeah, well, there's one guy who's like properly exposed, and there's another guy who's, in the shadows in the background or something like that. What are we supposed to be looking at? There's nothing that's pointing us to the main subject, and the main subject isn't doing anything anyway. Meanwhile, you have this gigantic wave in the background, and you have all this foam. There had to have been something better going on, and in fact, we've seen it from Brendan. So this is kind of dumbfounding to me.
Oh. Marie Fasavalu, I think he's Australian. Mori by Patty K. Patty K loves rugby photos. And I think I'm going to take a step back and say, okay, you know what? It's not a bad photo. And I'm going to move on because I like to see more from Patty K. This
is better than the ones that we've seen before because, he's like jumping, he's definitely off the ground, he's looking the ball into his hands. Like, I don't mind any of that. It's definitely more dramatic. He's definitely blurred out the background more. But it's still, these kind of things just keep happening during a game. They just keep happening. So, what's different?
Yeah, like I think he's done a lot of he does a lot of rugby stuff, and I would like to see you do a bit more with the subject than just keep on doing the classic, really boring shots like this. I know, it's Ken Reedy Jr., Franklin Regional High School versus Mars Area High School football, August 30th, 2013. I understand what you wanted to do, but I don't think it works very, very well. It's off balance to me. It's a bit too much to the left. If you wanted this to work, he had to be dead center, and he's not dead center. It's the first thing I saw, is that he's not dead center. And and I wish, I don't know, I don't really care much about his left leg. I'd be much weirder, much more funky, I think, if that part was actually even gone. I just wanted to just see maybe that right leg. But I've just covered the left leg, and it will look really weird as well. So I don't know. It's you
The
have to.
thing about it being directly in the middle is important because it's the same reason that the boxing picture that we chose for cross or that you chose for cross counter the first time. If that picture wasn't exactly square and everything wasn't parallel to the edges and perpendicular to the edges and whatever, it wouldn't have been a picture. It just would have looked sloppy, and that's what this just ends up looking sloppy.
Mm,
When you go for a picture like this, it has to be perfect because there's no ball, there's no face. So really what you're going for is like an architectural kind of image. And if you don't nail it, if it's not, right along the edge or right in the middle or something like that, it's going to look sloppy, and that's what this picture looks. It just looks sloppy. It doesn't matter about the left leg. If he had been right in the middle of the frame, right in the middle of those two guys, it would have been a
yeah.
lot better of a picture. But I mean, it's good. He's definitely trying something else. It's good that he stuck with it even after the ball was gone. It's good. Like I wouldn't mind if he had gone even tighter and just gone for the back of the helmet, the hand, and the foot. I mean, that's something that you don't see very often. And if you're looking for a detail shot, that's a detail shot. But if you're going for an architectural kind of image, you need to make sure that it's completely in the middle.
So he kind of went with this one as well. It's another Ken stuff.
Yeah.
It's through the netting, right, of the thing.
Yeah, the kicker's net.
I wish that I understand to like put the dudes who's practicing kicking in the foreground, but I really, really, really wish the other dudes were doing something a bit interesting in the back.
Yeah.
Because that's the focus that we're looking at. And I didn't even really see the guys kicking until like I had to like, take a second look. Say, oh yeah, there's a guy kicking the ball. And that didn't even really cross my mind. And I thought that like, oh maybe had he just skipped the whole, the guys kicking in the foreground, because it's really, I don't think it really adds that much to the thing. That if you just like shot through this just webbing, the net thing, I would love that. Like we'd be different textures of the whole thing, and shoot the sidelines through that and get a very interesting moment off that. The people actually doing something during the sideline. Because yeah, it's just like I said, it just doesn't. I don't think it really adds that much. But the net itself adds a lot more than the guy kicking the ball. But I'm never ever ever going to criticize somebody that much for doing something interesting and different.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. The execution was poor.
Yeah.
Because the guys who were in focus aren't doing anything. I would have liked to have seen the ball into the net be the part of it that's in focus, and then have the guys who are in the background completely out of focus, and then have the guy who's kicking it about the same as where it is now. So just move the focus point all the way up to where the ball is, and then let things go out of focus as they move away from the camera, and that would have been a lot better.
And it's one of those shots you can do a lot. You can try it next game, because you'll see it again,
Yeah.
Oh dear. Villanova quarterback John Robertson by Zimmerman Photography. Sucks.
Yeah, it's just not good. No reason to cut off his feet.
Too high.
It's just it's just not a good angle. Not good. Not good.
Okay. All right, I want to keep on going.
If you're standing, you know what? Go back one again, because I've been watching a lot of football this season between the games that I'm shooting and the games that we have this the greatest invention ever, the Sunday ticket, so we can watch any football game that we want to watch anytime. You know what? If you're shooting football and you're standing and you're using a monopod and you're walking around the field and shooting and whatever, you're not working hard enough, and your pictures are going to show it.
It sucks.
Get yourself a pair of knee pads, kneel down, lay down, sit down. I've seen so many people this season standing up, and I know it sucks, and I know it's a long-ass game, and I know your knees will hurt at the end of it, but you have to do it. You cannot shoot American football standing up. You just can't. Your pictures are never going to be good. It's just the way it is. Deal with it. Get used to it. Don't form the bad habits of trying to stand up. You can see in this picture, not only is the guy who's taking the picture standing up, but the guy in the top right is also standing up with a monopod. just don't do it. It's not an option. Do not do it.
Like, well, I don't understand why you would. Like, it makes no, like,
it's
any
because kneeling
sports?
for a 4-hour football game
Oh,
and getting up and sitting down and whatever, it sucks. It's not fun.
oh, come
I don't
on. You know what I mean?
do it
Like,
because it's fun. I do it because that's where the pictures are.
yeah, I mean, it's stupid. Like, then what? They don't go. You know, if you're gonna just like
Right.
do half-assed job
Right.
for these
Right.
things, you
That's
get
exactly it.
opportunity to actually go and shoot something like this, and like, yeah, get your shit together. You know what I mean? Like, good
Yeah.
God. I mean, then don't. I mean, just don't do it. It really irritates me. It shouldn't be here. At no point, and it should not. Maybe it's not slightly not straight. No, I don't think it is even like. No, it's not. It's. This is how you think a bit better about everything about sports photography. That he found this interesting architecture in the background. He thought, okay, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for the writers to come, but my main focus is gonna be the architecture because A, that's the most interesting about the whole thing, and B, adding sports to the whole thing makes it into a really good sports photograph. I think there's so many small things I can really nitpick about this, but there really isn't that much of a big thing. Like, I don't like the fact that the wheels are crossing here. Like, I'm a bit nitpicky about these things. It could just be one rider instead of three, or it could have been a lot more in a bunch in a row. I don't know. Like, I have to really see it and see like which one's the best. But by all means, Isaac Farah.
I like that he left all that room for the sky.
Yeah.
At the top,
Beautiful.
like it really balances. Like this is what we're talking about for an architectural picture. Like if he had been sloppy, like if you look at the area from the top of the roof down and you look at the area from the top of the roof up, it's basically the same. It's definitely parallel. So those things matter because this picture would have looked sloppy any other way. If he had left half as much room on the top, or if it hadn't have been parallel, or if the guys who are riding hadn't have been basically the same, height off the ground as the building from that perspective, it would have looked sloppy. But because all of this stuff is the same and it's all balanced, it works out. So you want to take advantage of those architectural elements when you're making a picture like this.
Good stuff. Ah, Tom Brady. Watch the game. I mean, if you're gonna just watch the game, because if you were there shooting this game, like as an accredited photographer, yeah, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to do. It's the best thing you can get. But I'm sure you weren't. You're just in the stands watching the thing. Just watch the game. Don't take pictures.
No, this isn't from the stands.
No?
No.
You think he was there? Oh,
yeah.
It's terrible.
I mean, look at where the wall is. He's below that wall on the other side.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it could have been like the pregame or something like that. I really don't know, but he's not in action. He's warming up, which raises the bar on what the picture is going to look like because he will sit there for 15 minutes and throw like that in warm-ups. It's poorly exposed. It's at too high of an angle, whether or not he was in the stands or not, but I don't think that he was. This is watch the game, stay home. You know, if this is what you went there to do, then there's no business being there.
You know, when I saw this picture for the first time, this is the Ball and the Hold by Cosi Designs. I could not figure what the hell is going on because if you see this picture very, very small, the background is so in focus that I really had difficulty like knowing what. Now that I see it like this size, now I know what's going on.
Yeah.
I know because I don't really get to like shoot that many day sports. In Europe, we do things in the evening for some reason. Like we don't like to go outside when there's the sun. But in America, it's different. You guys have a lot of day games. And I know it's very difficult for certain lenses to actually get a high apertures, like 4 or 3 or 2.8 or whatnot. But it's so distracting the background that it destroys everything. Also, from what I've seen in the past, this is the type of action that happens all the time. So it's not that interesting either. And I don't really know what to say. Maybe you should have actually done it the reverse. If you're gonna get this much depth of field, I almost said depth of focus. Why don't you just just focus on the crowd instead? Then try to see if that works, because this is something that happens all the time. It's not very interesting, so that's it. All right, Mako, and you get to do more. DSC 5496 by Tom Sanders. Oh, sorry, Terry Sanders.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Just say the bad stuff and we'll move on. What's bad? But it's well exposed, Matt.
Sometimes you need to take pictures of the defensive players and them doing their job. Like those pictures sell just like the ones the offensive players do. So you need to have them. But this is just so off because of the cut-off leg and the cut-off toe of the offensive player, and the fact that he's turning away from you, but he's not completely away from you. It's just poorly composed. Like you need to. And the guy who's tackling isn't straining at all. He looks like he's watching a movie or something like that. Like there's no drama in it. It looks really like disconnected, and it's just off kilter. And what you want is you want things to look elegant. You want, like, these are athletes who are doing athletic things, and you want them to look like they're trying, and have like the expression on their face like it's important and like they're into it. And this just sucks all the emotion out of it. So he's actually doing violence onto this other guy. Like he's definitely getting ready to throw him onto the turf, but he looks like he doesn't care about it, and that's not good. Like this is not a good example of a picture of a defender because of that, and because of the cut off limbs, and because the guy is like 3/4 turned away. There's better options, and there's better positioning. Like, yeah, you were just in the wrong place. Like if you were over more and you got the guy's face who he was tackling and his face around the outside, it would look better. But as it is, it's uncomfortable looking at the picture because of the limbs and the angle and all of that. So it just doesn't work.
I'll do my share. Jeremy Lanthorn. Well, what can I say? Let's start from things. It's kind of the same thing that the previous picture. First of all, the feet. If you look at it, it looks weird. It is weird. It doesn't. It's just weird. There are two girls. Now I realize there's two girls doing the blocking, and I can't see their faces, and the action itself is not very interesting, and the depth of field is way too much. I can see the girl. I can see the referee's face. I can probably see what she's eating for lunch. I can see the people in the background. I can see a lot of things going on in the background. It's too much. And to top it all off, it's not interesting. So why not why don't just cut the whole thing off at the waist, so you don't have to have this awkward feet thing going on. Have less the depth of field. That would help a lot. And just have a bit more grunt and facial action to the whole thing, because sports is about emotion. Just terrible all around, really. I can't even look at this picture more than 2 seconds. Bad stuff. I mean, you can do better than this. All right, SC versus C, number 10, Beast, number 1. I don't know what the hell is. Is that a play call by GHG Photo Gray Houston something Gibbs? So Mr. Gibbs. Yeah, I mean it's same thing. He's running with the ball. It happens a lot, I'm assuming. No, and I know for a fact in American football it happens a lot. If this is the first time you've ever shot something like this, maybe it is something that you wanted to shoot, but by all means, it's not a very exciting thing. No one's getting tackled. He's not actually striking off anybody. You can't really see that he's actually striking to the whole thing. And as Matt pointed out earlier in this whole thing, is the face, can you see the face? Is the face exposed correctly? Yeah, pretty much it is, and that's probably the only thing that's going on over here. So we're just going to move on because this is really boring photo. And it gets worse, huh? Jeremy Lanthorn, you're in the shits today. All right, Matt, quickly. What's bad? Maybe there's something good about this. I don't know. Matt, Cohen. Hello?
I can barely hear you.
Okay.
No, now it's better. All right, yeah, this is underexposed. I know it sucks, or the previous one was. I know it sucks shooting night games, especially high school or whatever, but that the previous picture was, you need to make sure that the skin tones are there, not the uniforms. This one, yeah, I mean, it's good that he's low, but the sign in the background that just makes it just a throwaway, unless you can figure out how to first, I mean, crop the scoreboard part out of it, and you would be better. But
No.
you know, just if you're standing somewhere and you're expecting the play to go past you and to go in between you and that sign, then you're standing in the wrong place. Because if you can't blur it out, if you can't crop it out, then you need to figure out a different place to stay.
And Jeremy Lanthorn, 3 in a row.
Yeah, this is out of focus. This is focused on the people on the other side.
Right here.
Yeah, on the right-hand side. So this is an automatic throwaway. I don't care if this was, you know, the 2000th touchdown this guy scored in his career. You've completely and totally blown it. You know, the telephone pole in the background and the ref and the lifting thing in the background, like none of those are helping.
It's such a shame though, because like I love the background, you know, it's like so big sky and like the field and everything, and yeah, you didn't even use that, so it sucks.
Yeah.
Slightly better, we're talking to Ridgeland versus Clinton by Myself Man.
So you have a goalpost. Yeah, you have a goalpost in the background, you have buildings and whatever, and all those things are screaming to you, I'm crooked.
Yeah.
So the first thing that you do, again, is fix it. You know, it's trivial. This would take you 2 seconds to fix this in whatever program that you're going in. And it's actually not a bad moment. Like, it's a little bit late because the guy's head is coming down already, but it's close enough. So that if it was straight and if you had cropped in a little bit more on the action, it would have been okay. But, you know, it's just sloppy. Like, you have to take more pride in your work than to let something like this go out, because all you're saying is, I'm so happy that I got these two guys, you know, one tackling the other guy or whatever, that I didn't even look at the rest of the picture. And it's your picture. You're responsible for everything that's in the frame. And I'll give you some advice that I got at a workshop a long time ago from a guy that's won a Pulitzer for work shooting war in Iraq. Start at the frames, edges of the frame, and work in. Make sure that the shit that's going on along the frames works, and then move into your subject. And if you started at the frames here, you would see that it's completely off axis and no good. And so, can you fix that? Yes. And then you move in and you have a decent enough moment, then you have a picture. But the way it is right now, it's sloppy, and it's telling people I didn't even think about looking at the rest of it. I just saw the action.
And Alfie picks Scarlet's U under 18s, Worcester Warriors under 18s. Same thing.
It feels like this is that he's reached the level that he's comfortable with. It feels like I can go out any given day and get clean,
and
focused
that's
pictures.
Not going to really do anything for him, you know.
Right. You can continue doing that, and you know, if you're selling the pictures to the players and they like it, that's great. But you're not going to make any progress. You're not going anywhere doing this. You need to make pictures that look different. You need to make pictures that show that you're not just focusing on dudes carrying balls.
No pun intended. There's no pun, really.
Yeah.
Miguel Angel.
Great vignette. Really, the vignette just just ties the room together.
Yeah, not good.
Don't do that.
She did a lot this month, and there's really fundamentally a lot of things wrong with all her pictures. Most of it is that, yeah, it's very. I don't know. This is not one of them. I mean, this is bad as well because it's really pixelated. Like it's got a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
noise in
dark.
it.
It's just
Yeah,
it looks like
and just like it's
it
like a
looks like
motion of like he's
noise
moving a
reduction.
bit, so it's got he's blurring because this part is in focus. Um, I'd really advise, like, I don't want to like kiss Matt's ass more than I have to, but I should go and like check Matt's photo and then see what he does and see if you can actually do the same thing just for starters and see what you can do. Because I don't know what you're focusing or like what you're trying to do at this point in your illustrious rodeo photography career, but you won't get anything out of the stuff that you've done or you've actually shown to us in any of the photos. It was really, really bad. Um, there's no sense of just there's nothing that I don't really see like what the point is. You're taking these pictures and what just showing to your friends like, oh, I went to rodeo and like I shot this. It's like just like you're like masturbatory pictures, like you're happy that you're there and it doesn't really do anything for it. I'll give you a pass if this is your first rodeo, and if it's not your first rodeo, it's definitely not a good thing. And it's one of those like people that gets these passes that Matt couldn't get for the past 8 years because he's Jewish or something. You can't do that. You just can't do it. Miguel, better, much better, but it's one of those things I can see in magazines all the time, which I'm not impressed at all. Just a dude riding a bike and some guy in the background. Yeah, you can do that. So let's move on and do something else next time.
And it's what it's really go back one. It's really sloppy too because the edge of the track being in it, like this is again an architectural shot, like you're using
This part.
yeah, you're using the wall and you're using the sky and the rider and they're all parallel or whatever, but having that white and red edge of the track in there just destroys all of the work that you're doing. Not that it would have been a great picture, but it would have been better. And again, you're responsible for those things that are along the edges. Get rid of it.
Or Photoshop it, like I do.
No.
Mike Groom. Yeah, it sucks, Mike. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
You keep on like bringing shit into the thing and like it's shit. Like I don't understand what. I would like to like. I think at some point when we have better technology, we'll have like a sound bite, or maybe we don't really need better technology. Like we'll have people like write in why this is a good picture. Because sometimes I really want to know why you think this is a good picture. Is it because it's Porsche? Because if that's the case, then it's really, really bad.
Yeah,
like, it's
I think
really,
that
really bad.
You need to understand that shooting with a slow shutter is a high wire act, and you're going to miss a lot. But if you like, what's the best that could have happened here? It's not slow enough to block out anything. Like if you look at, like you can see that guy is wearing glasses. Like obviously that you're not slow enough because if you can see that level of detail, it's just not slow enough. So nothing good was going to come of it, even if it was the best picture compositionally ever. You're still not slow enough to blur out the things that should be blurred out. So I don't know where the starting point was for this picture, but you were starting so far in the deficit that nothing that was going to happen while you were shooting it was going to make it a good picture.
Yeah, it sucks. ETNZ with Photo Bird by SB Grant. I have no idea what this. This is like, listen. Yacht. I kind of have the same feeling going on with like yachts these days. Yacht photos with the cars and bikes that inherently they're very boring.
Yeah.
And it takes like a lot of skills to do really good photos, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's the fact that like it's something that you can't see faces most of the time as well. And the thing is like it's there you can't get very, very close to them, and you get photos like this, I mean, what the fuck is this supposed to be? Like, wow, it's one of those like pictures that you're showing to your friends. Like, wow, like I went to this boat race and this is what I got. I'm like, I can shoot this with my iPhone, and you
Right.
know what? I can probably, as a matter of fact, I can probably shoot a better picture with my iPhone than this shit over here. Like, it is
So
just
yeah, it's really bad,
horrendous.
and what makes this worse is this is the America's Cup or the Louis Vuitton Cup before the America's Cup, and this is taking place in San Francisco Bay. And so you have in San Francisco Bay, you have Alcatraz, you have the downtown San Francisco, downtown Oakland, the Golden Gate Bridge, the Marin Headland Mountains. I don't even know. I mean, that's just for beginners. So you've taken the least interesting picture that you could possibly take. It's just against a hill that's completely nondescript. It's far enough away that you can't really tell what's going on. And that's I've seen these boats in person because it's not far from here. But why is it so desaturated? Like these are really bright blue and bright red signs on the sails, but it's like I don't know. I mean, how could you take a less interesting picture? You're in the San Francisco Bay. These are America's Cup class boats, and you're not. There's nothing in the background, and it's desaturated.
It's horrendous. It's just bad news. Isaac Farah, yeah, it's Barcelona, it's Messi, and it's Neymar on the background. Great, you got the shot done. So yeah, I like to see a bit more interesting stuff, Isaac. It's because I know you can do really good stuff like you did with the bicycle thing. I think you can do a lot better football picture than this.
Yeah, I think Isaac needs to be a better editor, and I think he needs to be more honest with himself and look at his good pictures and look at the pictures that aren't as good and be a lot harsher of a critic on himself because
this is just
there's really
average,
yeah, there's a
on.
gigantic spread in between the pictures of Isaacs that are really good and the other ones, and you should close that gap.
It might be the most interesting football. No, let's see. I'm gonna say that later on. CU number I don't know, 4 versus AF. It is by GHE Photo Gray Houston Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs, once again. I don't know what he did before because I'm getting a bit swamped with all these pictures now. Oh yeah, he did the one with the girls fighting for the ball. This is a better picture of girls fighting for the ball. Better. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but it's better. I think the depth of field still too much. I need more shallow one, and I really would like to think that women's football match. Long hair. I mean, I would love to see a lot more going on with the hair. Like, why not? Hair's everywhere, and concentrate on the hair. See something that's important or that's interesting in a scene, and really concentrate on that. If there's two women going at it, well, it sounds a bit weird. Two women's going for the ball, then you have to think okay, they both got long hair. Why don't I just get pictures of just their heads, and they're battling for it because I will just see a lot of hair, and that's more interesting. And what's interesting about this? Well, nothing really. So we're gonna move on.
It's also underexposed, and I'm tired of saying that.
Yeah, and this is no, we can't do this, Rodeo Girl. Oh, there you go, Matt. There you go.
Okay, so
it's shot in 1825, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I guess obviously it's just too far away for the lens. And cropped down like this makes it look bad. There's also absolutely no reason whatsoever that it should be in black and white. It's a sports.
Other things.
Yeah, it's a sports action picture. You don't need to make it black and white. There's no. When you make something black and white, you're trying to say that the structural elements in the picture are more interesting when you can concentrate on them in black and white. It's not to cover up a problem with the picture. It's to reduce it to the structural elements of it. And what are the structural elements of this picture? Well, they're not good. And you have the people's faces looking over in the background that are just distracting. and the way that it's cropped, makes it distracting because it's too tight for what it is, and it's too loose for if it was just him and the steer. It's listen. I don't want to be as harsh as Ree was being because I know that this woman is definitely just starting. I know that it can be tough to get access at the rodeos. But you're just too far away for what you're trying to do. And so I'll give you the advice that we give everybody who's just starting. If you don't have the gear, if you don't have a 400 or a 300, and you don't have the access to where you can get close enough to make it work with the lenses that you have, then you need to shoot other parts of the rodeo. I guarantee you that I could go to a rodeo with a 14 to 24 and nothing else and come out of there with good pictures. But I wouldn't be shooting the action in the arena. I guarantee you that, because it's just too far away, and you're never, even if you can crop it down enough, it's still not going to look good enough because you're not going to have the flatness that a long lens would give you. You're just going to have like this, average kind of looking picture that's you can tell has been cropped down too much. What I do if I went with a lens that was too short, I would sit behind the bucking chutes and shoot guys getting ready. I would do portraits. I would shoot them in the chutes getting ready to ride. I would shoot them in the chutes getting ready to rope. I would get them, talking to each other in the parking lot. I would get them feeding their horses. There's so much that goes on. This is why I love rodeo. There's so much that goes on outside of the arena. And if you don't have the gear that's going to be able to get you the shots that you want, stop taking them, because there's no fixing it later. Either you have a long enough lens or you don't. And if you don't, you need to focus on things that you can get really close to, and it's never going to be a steer wrestler. In the arena, anyway.
Well, hopefully. Oh.
Well, here it is. So, this is better than the square black and white one. So, but you're still too far away for the gear that you have, and you still have way too much depth of field, and it's, you're not low enough for what it is, and you're not high enough for what it is. So. But this is better, and I hope you can see why the color version of this is better than the black and white square
one. John L. Downs, WMC Wiscombe Park Hill Climb. Wow, how interesting. And it's crooked. And I'm sure you actually do it intentionally, and it doesn't really work over here. Yeah, it's boring. So I think I have a feeling that with these car shots, car racing, and all that kind of stuff, auto racing, whatever you call it, a lot of people just go there because they've got a camera and they shoot things because you have in a really strange way, you have access that most photographers probably do as well. So you're thinking okay, I'm gonna take some shots and I'm gonna get them I think are they drifting? Maybe they're drifting. And snap some and just gonna show my friends. It's the whole it's a very Facebook photo, and in the end you just get really shit photos like this, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less, just nothing interesting going on. You're gonna put in these auto racing forums and say, hey, look what I've actually got, and all your friends will think, oh, it's a great shot, look at this, it's all the wheels are in motion, and everything is all in focus, great, and it's the rain going on, and it's the most boring photo you can possibly imagine. Yeah, nothing interesting about this. I wish you would just go somewhere and have a look at the really top-notch auto racing people do their shots and see what they do and what makes it interesting, because looking at your picture, I don't think you have any idea what you're doing, and this is not a good thing. So I'm going to move on. And AKMCAFE, blah, 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 Austin McAfee, and this is CONCACAF Gold Cup semifinal. CONCACAF Gold Cup, but it's not a bad shot. They're both in the air. They're doing their stuff. But I'm sure there are other things that happened during the match that was more interesting. If this is the first time you've ever shot football, then bravo to you. You can get these shots. You can get things in motion, in the air, and there's you froze the action. So that's good for you. I'm very happy for you. But at the same time, if this is the best you can do after you've shot years of football, that's very, very bad. So next time I like to see something a bit more interesting, because this per se is an okay, interesting moment, but there are a lot more interesting stuff that's going to happen in a football match, and I like to see a bit more than that. And we go to quick take this before the others get here by the lens. Much better fold than the other one. Still, I don't know. I think it's not really bad. I looked at it a couple of times now. I don't really mind the kind of deep depth of field going on over here. But the thing is, as we've said before many times, there are better moments, and the background is clean. I understand that. It's in focus. The ball's in the air, so it's an action shot. But there are a lot better moments in rugby that you can shoot. And I don't like the fact that there's a bit of a gap over here, because if you're shooting like a line of big men in the background, I don't like to see this gap over here. Maybe you can crop it.
The other thing is that if you look back to the rugby picture that we liked before, where everybody was looking at the ball, this one doesn't have that. Like, you have guys who are there some guys on the sideline in the background, or those guys in the game? I can't really tell.
I don't think this is actually in the game. This is not a game shot, or maybe this is like the first pass and they're all running towards to get him. But the thing is, like, it's a bit odd, because I like to have seen that the guy in the middle is the only person in the foreground. That's it. Because what was really distracting to me is the guy in the foreground 13.
Yeah.
And he really just takes like the energy out of this entire picture, you know?
Right.
Like,
well, there's also guys in the background that do that. Like the second guy from the right in green is looking down. The third guy from the right in green is looking down. You know, and if you contrast that with the rugby picture that we looked at earlier, where the one guy was throwing the ball, but every other person in the frame was looking exactly at where the ball was going. And, you know, you can't control those kind of things, but you can in editing. You can edit them out.
So, like, I would like to have seen maybe next time is that you could really compose it in a way that the guy receiving the ball, or a guy throwing the ball, I don't understand which one, I think he's throwing it, is far left, really, really far left. So you get rid of the guy who's receiving the ball, throwing it with number 13. So you concentrate on, like, my eyes or our eyes concentrate on the guy receive, like, not the number 13, but the other guy who's in focus. So better try next time. And my God, when is it going to end?
No, it's not going to end.
All right, quickly, Terry Sanders.
Yeah, you know, underexposed. The ref killing it in the background. Too much depth of field. Off axis. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, he's got glasses on. That's awesome.
You know, and it's weird because I've seen better pictures from Terry, so I don't really understand what's going on.
We're gonna speed it up a bit. Yeah, it's football, it's soccer, it's not very interesting moment. God.
This wasn't going to be a great picture one way or the other, but you have to accept the fact that you blew the timing. When you see guys with their faces all scrunched up and the goalie getting ready to punch it or whatever, but the ball is 3 feet above their head, you've blown the timing, and you need to own up to that and just move on to a different picture. Practice the timing. Like, this is going to happen 30 times during the game where two guys are going to be fighting over a head ball. That's 30 chances that you get to practice getting the ball closer to their head, or getting the impact, or getting it coming off, or, you know, something else going on other than the ball being 3 feet off of their heads. You just blew the timing. Own up to it.
And this is beyond it. Like, there's nothing going on that's interesting about this picture.
No, it's awful.
Nothing. Absolutely, there's zero thing going on.
If you're not shooting auto racing and there are cars visible in the background, throw the picture away.
And the fact that, like, if you were someone famous, I think I'll give it a pass, because just the fact that, like, you know, someone famous always give you a pass. But if someone is not famous, and you need to do a much better job actually taking a picture like this and make it interesting. How? Why don't you send us some more pictures and we'll decide next month how you can make it better, because this is just not. This happens a lot, by the way. Like basketball, same thing. Ball next to the face or on the face directly happens a lot. Adam Cross, RC Lenshaw. You know, it's like I've seen it so many times. Like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't really understand. Like, why are you happy about this? Like, I'm really just not happy about this. Patty K, same thing. I've seen better. It's just weird. Don't cut it off there. Just not a good thing. And
or crop it tighter. If that's your thing, then crop it tighter. It's not a bad moment. No. the between the two guys, the expressions on their faces or whatever, but the composition is blown because it's just cut off in a weird place.
And Base Honda, same thing. I mean, what's interesting about this? Like, I don't get it. I think people have to start telling us exactly why they've actually shot something.
No, I don't want to get into that. The picture needs a stand or fall based on what it is, and I think people are, they're either looking at these super high-tech cars or they're looking at the classic cars and expecting the car to do the work, and the car is not going to do the work. The car is not going to get you a good picture.
And with that wonderful note, that is the end of Training Ground. Thank you very much for watching. It was a very long one. We had a lot of entries. And yes, like I've said before, if you feel that you've learned something from us, and if you will keep on learning from us, I would really appreciate if you can donate your hard-earned pesetas, which is not in circulation anymore, our way. Can't really probably pay in PayPal.
Please don't send us pesetas.
Yeah, I don't think there's options to send us pesetas from PayPal, but there are other currencies that you can use, and we would appreciate that. So thank you very much for watching episode 31 of Training Ground, and hope to see you again. And by God, I mean, send us better pictures than this. I mean, it's really bad stuff. But, I love you anyway. Hope we love you anyway. Okay. See you later. Bye.